Continuing our prospect big board with the top cornerback fits for the Buccaneers, that and more on today's episode of Locked On Bucs.
You are Locked On Buccaneers, your daily Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome into this episode of Locked On Bucs, your daily podcast covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank you for making Locked On Bucs your first listen or view every day. Don't forget you can subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, you can follow along on Twitter. I am James Yarcho at JYarcho_Bucs, credentialed member of the media covering your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, here with you every Monday through Friday along with the everydayers. And for that, I want to share my appreciation for your continued support of the show. One of the ways you can support the show is become a Locked On Bucs insider. You're going to get news, rumors, updates, general thoughts, one-on-one conversations with me via text message. Go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnBucs or click the link in the show notes to become an insider today. We are continuing our breakdown of the top prospects for the Buccaneers at positions of need that span across all 7 rounds of the NFL draft. And for those that didn't catch the Edge Rushers episode, you can go back, you can check it out. For those that have not heard the network mock draft, those episodes are now live. You can find out what I did for the Buccaneers at pick 19. But today we are focusing on the cornerbacks, which is another position that should not surprise anyone if the Bucs take one in the first round. And a quick reminder of how this is going to work. I am not going to come on here and talk about just the top 10 or so cornerbacks in the class. I want to focus on guys that I would take in day one, that the Bucs have a realistic opportunity of drafting, some of the guys on day 2 and some of the guys on day 3. Of course, just because I don't mention a player does not mean that I don't like him or that I think he wouldn't be a good fit. But we only have so much time. I want to bring you some of the players that I think do fit the best. So let's start with the day 1 selection. And I only have one. You guys already know about it. It's Jahdae Barron from Texas. Now, I talked about Michigan cornerback Will Johnson a few episodes ago and why I don't think he's a fit with the Buccaneers, why I don't think he's worth that first-round pick for the Bucs. I'm not going to rehash all that. Instead, let's focus on Barron, who is the only player on this list that I am willing to talk about that would be considered undersized in Todd Bowles' defense. So Barron is 5'11", and he finished as the 3rd ranked corner out of 848 last season with the Longhorns. 5 interceptions, 0 touchdowns allowed, and a passer rating allowed of just 34.2. I've mentioned it before, but it's worth repeating. If a quarterback just threw the ball into the dirt instead of challenging Barron, he would have finished with a higher passer rating than 34.2. Beyond that, Barron only allowed 2 touchdowns over the course of his time in Texas from 2022 through 2024, finished with 8 total interceptions. And while he played more in the slot in 2022 and 2023, last year he had 679 snaps on the outside, just 122 in the slot, compared to nearly 400 snaps in the slot in both 22 and 23, while those 2 years combined, he had less than 200 snaps on the outside. That right there shows the versatility, but also lends credence to the fact that he is a bona fide outside corner. His numbers across the board improved when he made the move from slot to outside corner last year. He is an absolute monster in zone coverage, which is what Bowles runs more often than not. But he's also solid in man. There is room for improvement and growth in man coverage, but he's not going to crap the bed if the Bucs are running man instead of zone for a play or two here and there. His biggest disadvantage, obviously, is his size. With that said, even with the knock on his size, he still managed a RAS score of 8.64 with a 35-inch vertical and a 4.39 40. This guy has the closing speed that you want in a corner, and you can trust that he's not going to get beat on the deep ball. The other big thing is the football IQ, which in Barron's case is absolutely off the charts. That's a prerequisite in Todd Bowles' defense. You have to be incredibly intelligent if you're going to play in his secondary, and Barron would fit right in. He brings the versatility the Bulls love so much, where he can line up inside, outside, even at safety if need be, but he does all of them at an extremely high level. His anticipation, his ability to read receivers and quarterbacks is what makes him so special. It's going to be really hard to pass on Barron if he is there for the Bucs at 19. The next guy I want to talk about is kind of like the Shamar Stewart situation was for me in the edge rusher episode. This is the guy that I would look to if the Bucs were to trade down late into the first or make a big jump in day two, to the top third of the second round. But it's Trey Amos. And I'm not sure he would be the best option at 19. It's nothing against him. I just think that there are going to be better players at other positions at that point in time. But Amos is an absolute stud. Last year at Ole Miss, he finished with 3 interceptions and a passer rating allowed of just 54.5. He gave up 5 total touchdowns over the course of the last 3 seasons. He's another one that is better in zone than he is in man, but he's a lot closer in his abilities in both than Barron is. There's not quite as big of a gap between Amos's zone and man coverage as there is in Barron's. However, Barron's zone coverage is much better than Amos's. So, you have a closer gap, but Barron is by far the better prospect. Now, Amos finished 13th among all cornerbacks in pass breakups last season and finished as the 19th overall corner in 2024, a RAS score of 8.37. Amos ran a 4.43 40, but had just a 32-inch vertical. He has more of the size that Bowles typically looks for, 6'1", 200 pounds, and then those 31-inch arms. He is extremely physical at the line of scrimmage, and that's honestly something that the Bucs have lacked over the last few years. I'm not sure if that's by design or by choice, but if Amos has his way, he is going to get in the faces of the receivers that he is going against, and he is going to knock them around at the line of scrimmage as much as he can to get them off their timing and off their route. He does need a little work on tackling technique. It's not that he's a poor tackler, but he has or that he has a lot of missed tackles. But there have been times where he has tried to take guys down at the shoulders, and it's resulted in broken tackles, more yards after contact. That's a fixable issue, not a foundational one. So I'm not going to knock him for that very much. I think that's something that the Bucs could get corrected throughout rookie minicamp, OTAs, training camp. I really like Amos a lot in his potential fit in Tampa, but I don't think he's going to make it to the Bucs' second-round pick, and I'm not sure I would pull the trigger on him over guys like Malachi Starks, James Pierce, Donovan Ezeraku, even Shamar Stewart, if those are the choices at 19. So this is a trade back in the end of the first or make a big leap in the second kind of situation. My top 2 cornerback fits are in the books. It's time to take a major look at the day 2 guys. That is coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Bucs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, experts that are ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork helps find affordable, top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com. Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Thank you again for making Locked On Bucs your first listen or view every single day. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL Draft with Damian Parson and Keith Sanchez. Now that the season is over, get the latest draft rankings, rumors, and news every day. Find Locked On NFL Draft on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. My first true day 2 guy, you all already know. It's Benjamin Morrison out of Notre Dame. Now, to be fair to some of the other guys on my list, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. I have talked about Benjamin Morrison nonstop throughout the entire draft process. But for those that are not everydayers and have not heard my numerous comments, I'm going to summarize it as best and as quickly as I can. I like the size, though it's a little bit on the low end of the Todd Bowles meter. He's just 6 foot. But Morrison is as smooth of a corner as you are going to find. Only 6 games last season because of the hip issue, having the season-ending surgery, but allowed no touchdowns and had a passer rating allowed of just 58.4, which is really good until you look at the fact that his passer rating allowed in 2022 was a 29.2 when he had 6 interceptions and just 1 touchdown allowed. Another guy that is better in zone than in man, but not much of a drop-off when he plays, from one to the other. A 44.4% completion percentage allowed and a forced incompletion rate of 20.5% over the last 2 seasons. That's outstanding. He is a leader. He is a baller. And this is a man that looked us right in the eyes at the combine and said that he didn't truly understand how much he loved the game of football or how much football truly meant to him until last season was taken away. Oh, and by the way, his dad played for the Washington Redskins with Todd Bowles, so there is a connection there. Moving on, I do want to talk about another guy whose 2024 season was cut short, and that is ECU's Shavon Revel. Now, we're really getting into Bowles territory here with the size between Revel and the next guy on my list, but Revel is 6'3", 200 pounds with 32.5-inch arms, a passer rating allowed of just 48.8 in 3 games played last season, but still managed to have 2 interceptions in those 3 games before tearing his ACL. In 2023, a passer rating allowed of 62.6 in 12 games, and he did finish with 1 interception in that season. Man coverage, zone coverage, nearly identical production, but still slightly better in zone. Revel was well on his way to cementing his place as a first-round pick before losing his season just 3 games in. He finished 87th out of 859 cornerbacks in 2023, back when he last played a full season. But I'm going to let you know right now, out of the day 2 guys, Revel is the one that I look at as the biggest project. He has technique issues that need to be fixed. His anticipation is not what you want out of a corner in the NFL, but the building blocks are there. The sheer athleticism is there. He is an athletic freak and has the size to go with it, which is something that you cannot teach and you cannot fix. He has elite recovery, which is good because there were times where his anticipation and inability to read properly put him in a bad spot, but he was able to get away with it. He's not going to be able to get away with it in the NFL. So he's very raw, but the flashes that he has shown and the athlete that he is makes me believe that he's worth the risk. Now, I could be wrong, but someone is going to take him in the 2nd round, and they might wind up with a Pro Bowl corner within the first couple of seasons that he plays. The next guy is also a tall, long corner at 6'4", 33-inch arms, and had a RAS score of 9.99. That makes him the 4th ranked corner out of 2,762 that have been evaluated since 1987, and it's Iowa State's Darien Porter. That's another guy that I've talked about on this show quite a bit. 4'3", 40, 36.5-inch vertical, and the 80th ranked corner in college football in 2024. Are you ready for this? His passer rating allowed in 2024 was 4.7. That's it. 4.7. He gave up 5 receptions last year, and he had 3 interceptions. That means when he was targeted, he caught the ball almost as many times as the receivers that he was defending. That is absolutely ridiculous. He is elite in zone coverage. He's a little above average in man, but Porter is a dude that converted from wide receiver to corner, and it shows. Bowles said he wanted ball hawks. How about getting a converted wide receiver who can get his hands on the ball? Now, I mentioned that Revel is a little raw and does need to be developed. So is Porter. He only started at corner for 1 year, but he is an absolute dog on defense and a special team stud. I'm not saying that there aren't things that, don't need to be fixed or that don't need to be developed. Like he's absolutely abysmal in run defense. And that's going to be a huge problem on a Bucs defense if he doesn't get that on track. But this is a player that, like Revel, is well worth the risk. The last one that I want to talk about here is Dorian Strong out of Virginia Tech. Now, he had a bit of a drop from 2023 to 2024, going from 67th, among all corners to 223rd last season. But don't let that scare you away, all right? Take a deep breath, calm down. This is a guy that can play some football. 6'1", an 8.33 RAS score. He ran a 4.5 40 and had a 36-inch vertical. Strong struggles a bit in man. Now, that's not the worst thing in the world considering that Bowles runs zone most of the time, but it is just a little bit of a concern. That is something that needs to be worked on. It needs to be developed. He needs to be stronger in man coverage. But a passer rating allowed of 61.6 last season, but just 11.8 in 2023, which is also when he had his career high 3 interceptions and allowed just 1 touchdown. Now, he had 1 touchdown allowed last season and had 2 interceptions, but he also gave up a career high 408 yards on just 27 receptions. He's quick, he's twitchy, and his tackling ability improved exponentially over the course of the last 3 years. I think Strong has a chance to really succeed more in a Bowles-like system than a lot of other systems across the NFL, just because of his propensity to really excel in cover 3 based defenses. You work on that man coverage a little bit, you build up some strength, you build up some awareness, you help develop that anticipation and his ability to read his receiver, read the quarterback, read what the offense is doing, and Strong could be a really, really reliable player in the Buccaneers secondary for years to come. The rest of the corners that would fit with the Bucs, that is coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Bucs. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices, no console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. With 4K streaming, watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. Play high-quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of a console. Already have a console? A Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take your or your kids' games wherever you plug in. It's a game changer for me with all the travel we do for my son's hockey. We can plug a Fire TV Stick 4K into the TV so that he can unwind after his games, or so that he and his teammates can run a little NHL chill tournament right from the comfort of their rooms. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. Wrapping things up here on a cornerback edition of the Locked On Bucs podcast, going through a bunch of names across the board of the NFL draft to get you familiar with players at the positions that the Buccaneers need, and a couple of other day two guys that I like really quick. I'm not going to break them down the way that I did the other ones, but I wanted to throw these names out there a little bit. Azariah Thomas out of Florida State. He did come to Tampa on a top 30 visit. He's not my favorite of the day 2 candidates, but I could see the fit there. Also, I really like Noel Williams out of Cal. He had a great season last year, really good in man because of his physicality, but I just wanted to throw a couple more names out there before I started breaking down the day 3 guys. And I'm going to start on the day 3 guys with Kobe Bryant out of Kansas. This guy finished 55th among corners last season. He's 6'1" with 31.5-inch arms, ran a 4.53 40, and he's a corner that wants to hit you like he's a linebacker. The problem is he's a little bit on the scrawny side, so he's going to have to put some muscle on if he's going to go out and do that. But that's why he was one of the best corners in all of college football last year in run defense. That's going to be something that catches the eye of Todd Bowles. He wants his corners to also be able to play against the run. Bryant is a risk taker. Sometimes it pays off. Sometimes it blows up in his face. But this is a guy that thinks he's going to win every single snap. That's the kind of confidence that I want to see in my corners. Corners have to have a little bit of an ego. And by a little bit, I mean a lot. They have to have the confidence that they are going to win every single rep of every single game, and they have to have a short memory. That's exactly what Kobe Bryant would bring to this team. He allowed 2 touchdowns in each of the last 3 years, but his interception totals over the last 3 years, 3, 4, and 4. A passer rating allowed of 62.7 last season, and someone that shines more in zone than man. And for those of you that haven't caught on to that yet, there's a reason why I like zone coverage corners more when putting together this list for the Bucs. This is also a guy from the combine that said that his formal meeting with the Bucs was by far his favorite and that he loved talking ball with Todd Bowles. So there is a chance that those two really made a connection, and he's someone who is hoping to be drafted by Tampa Bay. Ultimately, I like that Bryant has kind of taken his name seriously, and he's adopted the Mamba mentality. He takes everything personally and will set out to prove that whoever said something negative about him is wrong. He talked to us in Indianapolis about all the chatter from the outside leading up to their game against BYU about how he was a liability when it comes to tackling. And he went out and played in that game dead set on proving a point. If you don't believe me, go back and watch Kansas versus BYU. He was an absolute stud in that game. Next for me is Zah Frazier out of UTSA, 6'3", 190, finished as the 17th ranked corner in 2024, a 19.5% forced incompletion rate and a passer rating allowed of just 37.7. He finished last year with 6 interceptions and dropped 2 more on just 38 targets. He gave up 1 touchdown, a 4.36 40 and a 36.5-inch vertical. This guy has good size. He has great speed, and he has the building blocks that you're looking for if you're taking a player in the 3rd round. Not to mention a RAS score of 9.36. We are talking special teams immediately. We are talking a rotational role while he has the makings of a guy that can develop into a starter, just like the last corner that the Buccaneers took in round 3 of an NFL draft. And then the last guy I'm going to mention, as far as the day 3 guys are concerned, is Zah Alexander out of LSU. He ranked 48th among cornerbacks last year, and he has a RAS score of 3.48. That's really, really bad. However, don't get hung up on the RAS score. Much like grades, much like all these other things, I'm simply using it as a tool, not the end-all be-all. But Alexander ran a 4.56 40, and he has a vertical of just 31.5 inches at 6'2". All of that said, the tape shows that he can play, and he can play well in a zone scheme. A passer rating allowed of 53.2. Alexander gave up 2 touchdowns last season, but he also had 2 interceptions. He forced 9 incompletions and allowed just 43.5% of passes in his direction to be completed. He's got the basics and the fundamentals down. He is not going to be a big-time playmaker or a splashy addition. He's going to show up, he's going to do his job, and that's about it. He is not going to do well in a man coverage scheme. So the Bucs are a team where he could find success. He also tore his ACL in 2023, so last season was his first year back since that injury. There was going to be a little bit of a down year as he worked his way back up into football shape. I mean, you guys saw it with Chris Godwin. A little bit of a down year after he returned from the ACL, and then all of a sudden that uptick is just out of control. There's really a lot to like here. The forced incompletion percentage was above 10% each of the last 4 years. He does not miss tackles. He has 14 career interceptions. He just isn't going to blow anyone away with his speed or his athletic prowess. That's why he needs to be confident and sound in his technique, because if he gets beat or he makes a bad break, he doesn't have the recovery speed to make up for it. That's why he is an incredibly disciplined player. That's one of the reasons that I do like him so much. But that is going to do it for the cornerbacks in this episode. Coming up on Monday, we are going to be talking about linebackers for the Bucs. I'm not going to be doing mock draft Monday. I'm going to be getting with Evan once he returns from his vacation. And I think what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to bring dueling mock drafts with Evan on Thursday's show. That will be the show that drops the morning that the draft begins, so that Monday I can bring you the linebackers. And then on Tuesday, we can talk about safeties. And then Wednesday, we can talk about receivers. I might have to combine like safeties with running backs, and then maybe combine receivers with defensive linemen or something like that. Either way, I have positional previews coming your way for the next 3 episodes leading up to the NFL draft. And then Thursday night, round 1 kicks off. I will be going live on YouTube to react to the Buccaneers pick. So you want to make sure that you're here for that. It's been a while since we've done a live episode. Love when you guys roll through in the live chat. It's always a great time. So make sure that you are subscribed on YouTube with those notifications turned on so that you know when I'm going in live. Insiders, of course, you know I'm going to shoot you a text and let you know the live time. But if you're not an insider, have those notifications turned on YouTube so you can join in on the fun of talking about who the Bucs take at 19. So please make sure you do that, as well as subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Become a Locked On Bucs insider. Go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnBucs or click the link in the show notes. And of course, make sure that you're following along on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at @JYarcho_Bucs. Hope you all have an absolutely outstanding weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, fire the cannons. I want to thank you so much for joining me right here on Locked On Bucs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.